All right, so I'm gonna bring Janina up, and what she's gonna walk you through is how to create folders, how to move around documents so you send them to the listing or buyer agent in a organized fashion that makes sense to them, right? She's gonna show you how to strike through a document, which
has been pre-signed.
yeah, that has, so if you have a document that's been pre-signed and you need to make one change instead of doing the document completely, from the beginning, how to make that one change and add an initial to that sign. She's also going to show you how to upload a PDF. How to upload a PDF, because if we're working with a buyer, we're going to be getting PDFs sent over to us from that listing agent of disclosure disclaimer statements, inclusions, exclusions. We'll be getting PDFs that we now need our buyers to sign. So we'll need to be to upload them into our room to be able to have the buyer sign them. Okay, so how to manipulate a PDF document. I think that's probably the gist of it today, but we can, whatever else she adds in there.
Any questions?
Yep, absolutely. So I'm gonna let you take the wheel. I'm gonna go grab your cards and I'll be right back in.
So good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Janina. I work at the Annapolis office. I have my own transaction coordinator business in which I write offers. I create listings for other agents and I do contract to close. I will put my name in the chat box and my phone number at the end. I'm available for 1-hour training sessions, personalized on Docusign. If you have further questions, and you can always contact me. So right now we are in a Docusign room that we have previously created. We have assumingly gone and filled out our details about the contract with our buyers, our sellers, and we are now ready to fill in our documents. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a couple other documents to this room so that we get a better picture of what, having multiple documents in the room at a time is going to look like, and how, when we create folders and we want to separate those documents, how that functions. You can't see that if you don't have multiple documents. So I'm just going to add a few more of these buyer contract documents, so like escrow and let's throw that one in there just for funds. I'm not walking through an entire contract of what you would typically see in writing a buyer's offer, because really the purpose of this is actually just to understand Docusign, not your contract. That is a separate class I don't teach. Okay, so where I left off in the previous class is basically filling in your forms once you've added them into your room. Again, if there's any questions or if I'm going too fast, if you don't understand this part, let me know. But I have previously covered how to add the forms into your room. So here you're going to open your forms and you're going to add information. So like today's date, would go there, you'd fill in, your purchase price or your loan amount. So we'll just say something, I don't know. And then, you fill out basically everything about the contract, right? And then you're going to save and close. Now, again, I'm not teaching a contract class. I'm not trying to make this real. I'm trying to show you just how you do it. So I'm not going to waste time filling in all these documents right now. Okay. I just want you to see how. So that was the conventional financing. Over here, residential contract of sale. Again, everything we put in on the details tab is going to auto-populate into our documents. So the seller's name, the buyer's name, the address, sales price, EMD money, things like that. All that's going to come over here. If we didn't put in the details, it won't show up, and then we will, you know, type it in ourselves. So we're gonna put a settlement date. There we go. Non-interest bearing. So any of these fields, you can either click and type, or you can do the check boxes, conventional financing.
I noticed the date populated when you opened it up. Where'd that come from?
That would have come from the details tab, I believe.
Okay.
So we'll put 30 days in there. Again, I'm not going to fill out the rest of this document because that's not the purpose. I don't want to teach you or discuss how a contract is written.
I'm sorry if you already said this, but how do we let them sign it?
We're getting to that.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to assume at this point I've clicked on each of these and I've filled in pertinent information about this contract. Okay. If you have questions now about how to fill in your contract, now would be the time to ask that, because I don't want to come back to it. I want to move forward and show you how to get these documents signed, and then how to create folders and the other things within the list that we want to accomplish this hour. So right now, none of these are signed. The easiest thing to do at this moment would be to select all. But let's say, for example, I don't want all of these documents signed at this moment. That would not be the best option. And I would come over here, I'd hover and click on the little circle at the top corner. I want this document signed. We'll, you know, make that assumption for this, this purpose. So then only one document is selected. This taskbar now pops up, basically asking me, what do I want to do with this document? You know, say I put the wrong one in here and I'm saying, you know, I want to delete this because I don't need it. You know, I selected the wrong HOA document in the list, you know, something like that. You just get rid of it there. I'm going to go back and select all of these though. I can at this point email this to myself. These would be like, let's say you want to go have these documents signed in person. You could email them to yourself pre-filled in with no signatures. You can combine them into a single PDF. I can move them, I can copy them, things like that. I don't typically copy. I don't know what the purpose in copying them at this moment would be. So,
I can print directly from there.
no, I think that you would have to email it to yourself and print it from there. So I clicked on the icon that looks like a pin, and it is now creating what's called an envelope. So just imagine it this way. In the old days, you would have to put everything in an envelope and send it off to a courier to deliver, you know, to get signatures or something. So, you know, where this is our delivery method is an envelope. Okay. This is where you can reorder your forms and put them in an order that makes sense to you or somebody else. Typically when I'm doing this, so this is a buyer offer, and all of these documents are often found in a contract. So I will usually want to have my residential contract of sale first, because that's where the majority of the details are. So I'm going to just pick this up with my mouse. I'm going to drag it over here to the front and drop it. And then I usually like my, you know, seller contributions to be like right after the financing addendum. So you just click on it, drag, drop, put it in any order you want. Doesn't matter how many documents you have in here, you can do that. I've done it with up to like 20 documents. Sometimes it gets rather crazy. After you have the documents in the order you want them in, you're going to click on the drop down box that's below your documents, and you want to select room participants. Now, the first several names on the list are your market center administration, and then the agent, and then your clients will show up.
What's the difference between that and the pre-tag?
Pre-tagged roles.
Right. Is it pre-tag roles coming from the detail staff?
I believe so.
So
So-
what would be the difference?
You know, I don't, so there's nothing actually in this one right now. Like I just selected the pre-tags role. I guess maybe if I select buyer one and, but then, you know, I have to like search this drop-down box. To me, that's more of a cumbersome process than selecting the room participants. The question was, what is the difference between selecting the option of pre-tagged roles in the drop-down box or room participants? So the room participants literally brings up a list of the people who you've added to the room. So even the other agent and the clients for the opposite side of the contract will show up if you've added them. But the pre-tagged roles looks like this box here, and you know, you have to like select which role, and then you have a drop-down menu that you have to choose from. And to me, visually speaking, in my opinion, this is worse.
Yeah.
The other one, the full list pops up, and I can just scan the list and select who I want to send it to.
Thank you.
Okay, so I am sending this document or these documents to myself to sign at this time. Oftentimes you as the agent will have something within a contract that you have to sign, so you'll want to make sure you select yourself as well in that scenario. But I'm not going to send this to Alana, so right now we're just adding it myself as the buyer, and I gotta shrink this down really quick. Okay. And the next step is to click the next button. So now we've added our documents to an envelope. We've put them in the order we want them to be received. We've added the recipient. You can type an email message here. I don't usually, because I communicate with the people and say, hey, you have documents in your email to sign. But you can certainly type a message there if you want to. But we're not going to do that, and we're going to click next, and we're going to finish preparing the documents for signatures. The more documents you have in your folders, the longer this part will take, because it is pulling over a lot of information. Right now, it's because of the Zoom and the internet and everything. But even on my personal home computer and home internet, I notice the more documents I have in there, the longer it takes. Okay, couple things to note here. Over here, you'll see all of your documents are in this like scroll down window. Not particularly important, but they're there if you wanted to double check. The next thing of note, you'll see the recipient's name is in this box right here. And there's a drop down. You click on that, of course, right now, give me a second. Right now, it's just my name that's listed there, but if you had multiple recipients, you would have a list of names right here. In order to create a signature field for a particular recipient, that person's name must be selected in this box. So, for example, you have a husband and wife buying a house, and you need them both to sign or initial. First, you'll use this first person's name. You'll click on initial. And this little yellow box will appear. You drag it over and put it where you want the initial. Now you also need the other buyer's initial, right? So you would switch this drop-down box to the other person's name and do the same thing. Click on the initial and drag it over and put it where you need it to go.
But do you have to do that for every
Yes,
contract? Even if you set it up in the details that buyer 1 and buyer 2, it won't populate those two?
how would it? I mean, it's telling you, so this box right here is telling you that you are asking for a signature from this individual.
Oh, you're
Right.
talking about the buyer's spot, the buyer initials? Okay, she only has one buyer programmed in here. If she had 2 buyers, it would automatically put the 2 buyers.
How?
No, like if you have, who's the buyer? You're the buyer?
Mhm.
So if we put your husband as a buyer as well, it's gonna auto-populate those spots and your initial boxes will be different colors. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, I've never had it auto-populate
Yeah.
both
Okay,
spots.
gotcha. I'm jumping in. Yeah, so there's a way to auto-populate
So I'm
everything.
going
Yeah,
to do
that's what-
this.
I remember, Alana, you taught that.
Yeah.
That once you open
Okay,
it,
so
it
you-
already
I'm gonna
has
do
it.
something
Hang
now.
on 1 second. If you are in this page and you realize you forgot something, and you need to add another document or you need to make a change on the documents, instead of sending, you don't want to send, you don't want to discard because then you're starting over. You don't want to save the envelope and close it under the actions drop down. So another tip. This just allowed me to give them that.
Yes, the save button that she clicked on is so important. All right. So what we're going back to now is the original. What I'm going to take this all the way back to is,
Don't go all the way
I'm
back
sorry, I'm
to-
going back to just the envelope right now.
Mhm.
And then give it a second.
So I didn't add the second buyer because we didn't put an email address in there for him.
Okay, that's okay. I'm gonna add them
Because-
anyways.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll add them anyways. All right, so here's the thing. When you have, so most people, a lot of people we work with, there's 2 buyers or 2 sellers, right? People, there's most likely a couple of some sort doing something. Hold that question for just a second. So we're gonna go back to
Drafts.
the
The
draft.
draft.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back into the draft. Thank you. And then down here where it says add recipients, this dictates the pre-tagged roles. So if there's 1 person, you only want 1 name in there. Now, you also want, so I'm gonna go to pre-tagged roles again. Okay, now I'm gonna say for this sample, there's also
Oh, that would be the
Okay.
difference.
buyer 1, buyer 2, you also, if you have a document in there that needs an agent signature, it will also come up and ask you to select your name as well. So I'm gonna put a random name in here and I'm just gonna say that I'm buying it with you. So there's
Okay.
another email in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna be buyer 2 today. Janina is buyer 1. So when we add selected, you'll see this change. Now we have both parties who need signature. So
The
let me
first
take this
one
one out. Yep.
Okay,
So you notice how it
so
worked?
that covers the question that we had earlier
Now
that
we
I
go.
didn't have a proper answer to.
Yeah.
So hang on. She had asked earlier what was the difference between selecting pre-tagged roles versus room participants.
You 100% always want to choose pre-tagged roles. It will make your life so much easier. I actually wish, and I've submitted feedback to Docusign, that they just remove the other ones altogether because it's confusing.
See, and I do it the other way until, well,
Yeah.
never again,
So
but
Never do.
The difference is, and I realize.
The difference
that's
is
when I was-
spending 15 minutes versus an hour.
Correct. When you do pre-tagged
I can do a
roles,
you know what,
contract in 15
you're a
minutes.
lifesaver. So,
Even though, Janina, you had said use the
Yeah.
room participants because it's easier to look at on the screen. It's really better to do.
So here's what
pre-tagged roles,
this.
Sign them up and then you got the.
Yeah, so
initial.
here's what that looks
Yeah,
like. When we go to
question there.
next, I'll get to your question in just a second. Let's see what it is. We're gonna
We'll
show
get
you,
that.
yep, we'll show you how to send it in just a few minutes.
yeah, we're
Great
just gonna
question.
put a couple of signatures on here. We'll sign them really quick so
So
that
now,
you see
Lisa,
what
to
it
your
looks
question.
like.
Yes, so now Lisa, to your question. Once
You already
we
answered it, because I got confused. She said room participants, and I remember. And
pre-tag.
then having to initial.
Pre-tag, pre-tag, pre-tag. Because if
And-
not, what happens that I found as a coach
Yeah.
is agents forget, especially new agents, they forget to put certain
change the
places. So when
signature.
I'm looking at contracts on a daily basis, it's a lot of
Mhm.
extra work, not to mention,
Yeah.
again, you're gonna see in a second, so you have, okay, so yellow is buyer one, blue is buyer two, or vice versa, it doesn't matter, right? So when we scroll down now, you will automatically see
Yeah, it shows up
everything
there for-
lined up. And it even puts the initials in the choose one or the other spots. Okay, so again, to make it easier for your clients, it's a coaching tip right now. I'm putting my coach hat on right now. So here's the thing. Buyers and sellers only know what we tell them as their consultant, as their agent.
Mhm.
Okay, so if we send this to a buyer who has never bought a house before, they're going to look at this and be confused and not know what to initial. Okay, then they're going to call you. Now we're going back and forth. What if you're in a meeting? Now they're not getting to you, and now you're wasting time. So for everything I do is about saving time. Everything. That's the one thing. We can make as much money as we want. We can't make more time. We only have a finite amount of it. So everything I teach you as a coach is how to maximize your time, right? Everything. So right here, I'm going to say they want to include an inspection. So if I click on it, oops, over here, I'm going to click required. Okay. Then I'm going to click on this. So,
Can you just
you-
delete the other two?
Okay.
If I didn't choose required. will
Here,
you
so
get-
great question. I'm going to answer that in two parts.
Mhm.
The question of, do you have to choose required? If I just did this where I deleted, okay, where I deleted these, okay, and then let's say, I'm going to go back to the original. Let's say I did not make this required. What will happen is when this sends through to your client as Docusign, they will see it, but it won't be required, so they may or may not check mark it. Now you have to chase them down for the other checkbox. Because Docusign, which by the way, when you practice, send yourself the documents to sign to see what it looks like. Sign the documents, right? So you see both parties. Because what happens is when everything's required, let's say there's 22 required sections, right, parts. What's really cool that Docusign does is when the person's signing, so Janina is signing, okay, for $1.5 million home.
Right.
When she's signing tonight, the system automatically moves her down to the next spot, and it says at the end, a button that says finish. She actually cannot click finish if she forgets a required spot, and the document will actually automatically take her back to what she missed. If you don't hit required, she can finish it. It sends it back to you. You spot check it. Now you have to send it back. Oh, you missed a spot, right? So save
You
yourself
do
time.
required field on everything that they're supposed to sign.
Everything,
Okay.
everything. Yep.
One other question, when you have the names of two buyers, let's say Lisa and Alana,
Mhm.
Lisa's first, does the signature Lisa have to be? first?
Nope. They can both go in at the same time. They can both sign at the same
They
time.
they don't have to initial according to how their name is.
No, it does. Nope, it doesn't matter because they're getting the email. So they're getting the email simultaneously when you send it. So Janina's buyer one, and I'm buying the 1.5 with her.
Yeah.
And we could both go in the email together because mine will show me my spots and hers will show her spots. She won't see mine and I won't see hers, which is really nice. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Did that help? And now you know a little trick.
Oh, yeah.
Because pre-tag roles is, like I said, when you really practice and master this, right? That is not an overnight thing. It takes many hours to master. You should be able to whip through and create and send a contract in 15 minutes. But again, you have to do it so many times. And if you only practice when you have a real person, you'll never master it. But if you constantly, every week, make it a point, okay, I'm gonna go in this week, I'm gonna be a listing, I'm gonna be a seller this week, I'm gonna go in next week, I'm gonna be a buyer, I'm gonna go in 3 times this week, 4 times this week. And you constantly do them, you will master them. Okay, let me turn back over.
Once you get to the point where you've mastered the way DocuSign does things, you'll spend more time just trying to decide what documents you need than actually creating the contract information and signatures. So we've demonstrated the initials now. I am the type of person, I have to make sure everything's done. You know, all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So I'm not going to assume that DocuSign did this right. And I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to make sure all of them are there and that all of them are selected as required to sign. So, you know, initials at the bottom of every page, and then it has the date and the signatures. Now, me personally, I couldn't handle this and I would have to drag this over. But that's just a personal thing. I'm just saying you can do that if you are that type of a person. Let's say that you did not fill in the information on the details tab here. I think I demonstrated this in the last class, and you have on this tab something you need to fill in. You would drag a text box over and you would type over here. I don't know, random name just came to me. And I'm not going to make that required for my client. It's just information that needs to be filled in. They'll see it, but it's not going to, you know, ask anything of them. Again, just scroll through, make sure there's initials and everything on all of the documents. Now, I'm going to send this, and Alana and I are both going to receive an email simultaneously to sign these documents. Alana, are you available to get into your email and sign? Because I would like to demonstrate what happens next.
I can absolutely go to my email. Yeah.
All right. I'll let you do that over here. I'll do it on my phone. And I want you to see what happens in the documents folder once this is done. If you are following along and doing this with your own contract and playing around as we go, send it to yourself, go to your email and sign, and as soon as you're signed, get back into DocuSign on the documents.
So I'm going to my email.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody bear with me as I go to my email. We're waiting on Zoom always makes everything a bit slower when you pull up some internet sites, so. Also, don't be afraid when you see my emails. There's a lot.
I'm so ready for my computer. The one from previous class, but not the latest one.
Okay, so everybody see right here, the very first email, it says, please DocuSign. By the way, did you happen to notice in the envelope, there was when you added the pre-tagged roles, right below that is a message section. It says subject, and there's a box that you could type in. That's where you want to put in like your message to your, make it personal, your message to your client, right? So I might change the subject line as, you know, documents ready to sign for 123 Cookie Way. Because again, clients.
I told them I don't do that, but that's because I reach out to them. As soon as I send it, I reach out to them by phone and by text, and I have that.
I love it.
Different personal
Yes.
contact.
So no matter what you say and how you send this and when you send this, your very next step should be picking up the phone immediately. As you click the send button, your phone should be ringing. Okay. As you click send, your phone should be ringing for you to say, hey, look at your emails and send them over for you to sign. Any questions, let me know. Do you have time right now to do it? So now you're creating urgency. That personal touch is very important. All right, so let me go to my email. So this is what they're going to see. Okay, this is what your clients see. Review documents. So when I click on this, I am now a buyer. Okay, hanging out with 1.5 with you. Is it bull?
So I think there's another step that we need to show them when we're done signing.
All right, so this is what your client is seeing. They're going to click continue, and when they do, what it's going to do, ready for this? Start. This is what your clients see. It automatically takes them to, I am not moving the screen, by the way. Docusign does it automatically. So if you don't put a required spot, it won't go to that spot automatically. This actually shows that.
They actually have to click on the box where the initial is
Right.
at.
If I try clicking
not
over
the
here, it's not gonna work.
Yellow arrow on the side that says initial.
Right.
It has to be the box that needs to be initial.
So these are all good things to know what the client sees to be able to properly educate them and provide that exceptional customer service. The easier your buyer, the easier you make it for your buyers and sellers, and the more communication you have with them so they know what to expect, they know the process, the better the customer experience, the more likely you are to get referrals down the road. The worst thing that can happen is your person gets this, you don't talk to them, they don't know it came through, they're waiting, you're waiting, and now they lose the deal. And now they're like, well, my agent never told me, and blah, blah, and now they're bad mouthing you. Don't be that agent. All right, so I am literally scrolling through. By the way, let me move this. Blah, blah, blah. Go into how many documents you had. Okay, so you notice how up here it says finish? If there was something that I forgot to click, or if I decided, like, as you know, your client may sit there and they might read it, right? If they're a high, like the disc assessment, they're a high C personality, very perfectionist. If they are a perfectionist, they're going to want to read it. And that's okay. You're not a lawyer. You are not reading it to them. We're not attorneys. We're not allowed.
Can they print from here?
Yep. They can print from it. When they finish it, they get a copy as well of everything signed. So if your client is reading it before signing it, they might miss a spot to sign. But what's great is the system will catch it and take them to it before they'll be allowed to click the finish button. So I'll go ahead and click finish because I didn't miss anything.
They can print right from that page too. There's a taskbar at the top with the printer symbol or a download arrow.
It says you're done signing. Awesome.
Now I should put my- So one thing we did not set up when we initially, I know we said that clients get sent this simultaneously and they can go sign at the same time. We actually set it up so that I now have to go sign because yours are done.
Oh, okay.
We did that by accident, but that is a setting that you can change on the envelopes tab
So
where the client name would be listed, client name and address.
all right, so now I was just waiting for others. Okay.
And say you set this up and sent it to someone and they said, nah, I'm not gonna move forward. Can you delete? the
Yep.
room, the whole
Yep,
right now?
everything
I'll
is what's
delete the-
called,
So that one on the bottom that we sent at 11:03, click on that.
this one?
Yeah.
Open it?
So now it's gonna take you to where we set up the envelope. If you click on the more button, and it gives you options to view the documents, copy the envelope, void it, which is what I would do. Or
Am I voiding this?
Mhm.
What do you want my reason to be?
I don't think anybody actually sees that.
Because I said so.
Right. Usually I'll type it, usually if I'm voiding something, it's because the client changed their mind or because I made a mistake on those files and I needed to make a correction. You know, or something to that effect, so I'll void the envelope. Okay, so if you go, if you close
Now
that,
we have 10 minutes.
the other envelope should now be done.
Okay, so
Um,
right here, it used to say waiting on others.
Right, okay. And so I don't typically go back to the envelope
You
at
will?
this point. I'm gonna go back to the documents tab. Okay, if I know for a fact they are signed. All right, now look at all those documents I suddenly have in this folder. Like how'd that happen, right? First of all, we have this certification of the documents were signed, which is kind of like, you know, when you used to fax stuff, you get that confirmation page. That's all that is. I haven't found any other purpose to it than that. And I just leave it alone. I don't do anything with it. Now I have signed documents and I have unsigned documents. So the ones that are in blue, these are the original forms that I created. They have no signatures on them. I can still open those documents. I can still change things in it and I can send those out for signatures. Now I have signed documents. These, if I open these up, I can't change information on there. Like, I'll show you an example. A signed document in this folder or in this section of Docusign, you cannot edit. It's like a PDF. Can't do anything to it. This is just a viewing. Like, remember before you had like, I could click right here and type. I can't do that now. That doesn't mean that this document isn't editable. It means it's not editable in this section. Okay, I'm going to try and get to being able to show you how to make changes because as we know, sometimes we have to do counter offers and things like that. So first thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to create the folders to organize these documents and create a bit of sanity in this mess. You're going to click on the actions button on the top right, and you're going to add a folder. And you're going to name your folder. So think of this as a subfolder to your folders. This whole thing is your entire contract for your clients. But within that contract, you have different sections. You might have your agency documents, you have your listing documents, and then you have your stuff that comes in after the contract is ratified, like your property inspection notice and other addendums that are changes and things like that. You might want to keep those separate, right? So I'm going to label this offer docs. And since this is a buyer contract, I'm going to put in here an address because if this offer doesn't get accepted, I don't want to create a new room. I'm just going to put these documents into this folder and go back and edit and change the ones that aren't signed. Okay. So now I've got the address. I'm going to create the folder. Now my folder showed up here. I can collapse this folder and I can open it back up. Right now, I'm going to move documents into that folder that I want to be there. So again, I'm going to select them like I did for the envelope. I just want to do my signed documents right now. Okay, so all the ones with green now are selected and I want to move them up there. There's two ways to do that. I can drag and drop, which I find to be harder. Or I can click on this like little arrow, it looks like a page with an arrow saying, you know, like, hey, it's going that way. I'm going to move it. In the drop down box, you want to select a folder in current room. We don't want to move it to a different room because, well, the other room doesn't pertain to this file. So I don't even know why that's an option, but it is. So folder in current room, and then it will list the folders that you have. You select the one you want it moved to, and you click move. All right, so now my signed documents are separated. That makes, it looks a lot cleaner, and I don't, like, I know what's there. You know? I don't have to sift through a bunch of, well, what's signed, what's not signed. The ones that are signed are in one spot, and like I said, I usually separate even my agency documents from my offer documents from my documents that come in after ratification. Because
So you keep the status of the room, you just add folders, if
Mhm.
there's, well, you're doing multiple offers,
mhm.
you know,
Yeah, I do not recreate an opportunity in command for each offer I put in. That's just a mess.
and room equals opportunity, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so I keep the same room. And what I would do, let's say this offer doesn't get accepted, okay? When I have a new offer that needs to go in, I come back over to details. I would change all of this information, right?
Will that flow to the documents?
It will flow
already?
to the non-signed
Got it.
documents.
Oh my God.
So all of these, once I change all those, well, actually, let's do this really quick. I'm just gonna change one thing in the edit tab, okay? And that one thing is going to be the address. So let's say it's 345 Main. Click, right? Save that. Documents. Now, I'm going to demonstrate this. This is signed. This did not change. This address is still going to be 123 Cookie Way. Okay. But I'm not working with that file anymore. I'm going to work with these documents. These are all unsigned. If you look at this one, the new address is going to be there.
So you can edit unsigned documents, which will change the buyer's name, the
Yes.
seller's name, the listing agent, price, oh my God.
Everything, everything. As long as it is not signed, you can edit that. So here we are, 345 Main is changed. All I did was change it in the details tab. I still have my signed offer that we did. So let's say I do another offer, it doesn't get accepted. I'm gonna create another folder with that offer, address, and I'm gonna put the signed documents in there. I've had rooms with up to 5 offers. And all I do is create that folder, put the signed documents in it, and I work with these blank documents.
That's great news.
So the next thing we wanted to know was, how do we upload our disclosure documents from, the MLS? Well, first you're gonna download them from the MLS. Now, I'm assuming everybody knows how to do that at this point. Alana put a PDF on our desktop that we can add. So you're gonna click the add button. You're gonna select from computer. Find it on your computer, wherever you put it. Now you can select from Google Drive, Dropbox, your computer. I think those were the only options. So here's our PDF. So select that, click open. Now it's going to show up down here in the room docs section. Every document you add will automatically go to this folder. If you don't want it there, you have to move it. Okay. I'm going to say that this is the documents from this contract. So I just demonstrated the other way to move it. I just dragged it up there because it was just one folder.
You did a copy or you moved it?
I moved it.
And
I
you
just-
kind of-
I just grabbed it
Oh,
and moved it.
got it.
I didn't do that before because there were 4 of them, and too much to do too. So now there was another question that came up earlier. How do you do the strike throughs? Hang on, I got a question. Let's see. Can you archive a folder in a room? I believe so. That would be done by doing this over here. So see the line where the folder has the folder name, and at the other side of the folder, on the right side, it has actions. I can rename it and I can delete it. It does not look like you can archive it. You can archive a room, but not a folder. So I wouldn't recommend doing that, but you can certainly delete it if you don't want to keep it in there. I keep it in there just so because I work with other agents, like I don't want to delete their files. If they want to go in there and delete them, that's their, you know, that's their business. But if they ever want to go in and look at, well, what was this offer? What was wrong with it? That is their documents, not mine, you know. Next question. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so does everybody understand how to create a folder and what the purposes of folders within your rooms are? And are there any questions?
There's a question above the.
Um,
To the other agent.
No, I think this was. Okay, yeah, how do you send it to the other agent? That's a good question. I will show you how to do that before I move on. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. I typically like to download them to my computer because I add then the pre-approval letters and the EMD check to it as a PDF.
Do you also
But-
upload the pre-approval letter here or no?
You can upload it and the EMD check and create the PDF that way as well. Yeah, so you're going to select all the documents that you want to send, and you're going to click on the email or the download, whichever one you prefer. Now, I think it's simpler to do the email, so we'll do that really quick. Type in your email address. I don't recommend sending it directly to your agent. I recommend sending it to yourself and then forwarding that on to your agent, or, you know, then downloading it as the package, at least for the first couple times until you're like, oh, I'm certain that everything's right.
Now, where you are in the email, you can't move the documents.
Yes, you can.
Well, because the way it was gonna email, it didn't look like it should be in the right order.
Hang on. I've done it before, so now I've got to figure out how I did it. Because, yeah, send an email, that's not going to work. Okay, let's do it this way. Like I said, I've done it before. So I believe I must have done it by putting it into another envelope. So like I said, this is if you don't want to download them and then add them into a single PDF on your computer. This is, you just want to put into a PDF to print, and you want to do that from Docusign. So you put it back into an envelope, drag and drop your pages into the order you want them in. Okay. Then you're going to, on this particular occasion, because we're not signing them, we're just sending them, we can probably just do the add recipients, room participants, because we don't need to sign anything. So again, I would send them to myself, select. Now, here's how you avoid the signature part. Right here, it says need to sign with a drop-down arrow. They don't need to sign. You want to receive a copy. Okay. Or another option would be need to view, because I think you can print in the view mode as well, but we're going to do receive a copy. And then we would click next. This is very slow. I apologize. And so now it's brought all the documents back up again. I can look over them one last time if I want to. I see my signatures are there. I can scroll through and make sure they're in the order I want them to be. And then I'm just gonna click send. And I just sent these to myself as a single PDF in the order that I want them to be in. Okay. So if you're going to do it this route, I do recommend you upload your pre-approval letter and your EMD check to Docusign and put it in there that way. I typically do a residential contract of sale followed by a pre-approval letter and the EMD check and then my financing document. Because those are the things, the most important things about your offers. That's what everybody wants to know right off the bat. So here you can see the list of envelopes. We got the voided one, we got the completed one. This is going to say waiting for others until I go over to my email and I open it up. Okay. Unfortunately, this is the only part I don't like about this method. When that gets completed, it's now going to duplicate these documents again. But they're exactly the same thing because we didn't add anything, we didn't change anything, there's no signatures. So for me, I would click on these other ones and just delete them because they're exact duplicates, right? So just select them. I know that I sent all of these and delete it. And now my folder looks clean again. Okay. Now, the next thing, and I think this was the last very important thing to show you today, and this is how to edit a signed document, right? Okay. Now we know that this PDF is signed by buyers. We know it's not editable in this section, but we have things to add to it, right? And I'm gonna pretend that we have to make a change to the seller contribution because the sellers have said, no, we're not gonna do that. Okay, so those are the only two I'm gonna add to this folder. And again, it has to go to be signed by the buyers. Okay, so we put it back into an envelope, right? I don't know why the pre-tag roles section didn't pop up there. So unfortunately in this case, because it didn't, I would have to manually add the signatures like I was demonstrating in the first place. And for the sake of this, it doesn't really matter. So it's going to be a need to sign again. And the order is just fine. So we're going to click next. The first document is that seller contribution document. I said the seller said no, right? So I'm going to show you how to edit that document to do a line through and an initial on the signed form. So you don't have to create a brand new document because you shouldn't be anyways. And well, it's a pet peeve of mine when a seller says, no, we want this, and then they make the buyer go back and rewrite an offer. Isn't that the same thing as a counter offer? Like you should edit what you want changed and send it back to us.
Right.
That's how you negotiate. That's my
So you
first.
have to create the envelope first.
Yes.
To make the change.
Yes, on a signed document. So right here, I'm going to say that this had a number in it of $5,000, but they don't want that. Okay. So we're going to do a line through. You're going to look at this right here over on the left next to signature. You have this pre-fill tools button. You're going to click on that. And then you have options. Okay. But we want a line. So you click on the line and now you got this. And you just drag the line through what you're, having to line out. Now, I don't like the red personally. You don't have to change it, but you can change the color to black if you don't like that. over here on the right side. So you had to have the line highlighted, okay? And then you get the drop down.
So if they
Color.
had said, no, not 5,000, but we'll give you 1,000, so you just scratch out that and then can you text?
Yep,
use
watch
text?
this. So you can do it here, or you can come back to the standard fields. And you got the text box option there as well. So then you would click the text box and drag this over here. And you got add text, we'll say 1,000.
Got it.
And again, we're not going to make that a required field. We don't want them filling that out. We want them to just see that it's there. Okay. And then of course, anytime we change a document, we must initial that we've made the change. Don't forget that step because it'll get sent back to you. And you-
Super important, yep.
Yep.
And if there's two buyers, you need to put the two initial spots, every party needs to initial.
Exactly. And so your sellers, all three or four parties who are privy to this contract are gonna have to initial that change. And then the next document was our PDF that we added, okay? Most of the forms, we'll just say, for example, you have the notice to buyer and seller document, right? That's in like every contract. At the top of that document, you have this document dated blank to contract of sale between buyer blank, seller blank. Well, sellers usually fill out, and then for the address, and the seller and the address are usually filled out, but you have to fill out the buyer and the date, right? So you click on the text box, drag the text box over to that field, type in the date,
You can actually drop down.
and same thing with the buyer. And then once you fill in all the stuff on your PDF document, then you would click send, you go to your buyers, just like the other envelopes.
The same thing with a PDF document, if you scroll down that one, scroll down to the bottom of there really quickly. So let's pretend you have a PDF document, like a disclosure form that you're not a disclaimer form that you're uploading for just them to sign. So you upload that PDF, we'll pretend this is it, and then you just take that signature spot at the top there on the left, click it, drag it to where the signature spot is on the form and drop it. That's it. Click, drag,
Yep.
drop.
Yep.
Click, drag, drop.
And I think that was it. I
Yep.
showed folders. I showed how to move your folders, how to get rid of documents that were duplicates, explain the purpose of why we use folders within our Docusign room. And then I showed you how to upload a PDF for your seller disclosures and how to edit pre-signed documents and the preparing your disclosures with your offer to go in there. Again, I provide contract to close services. And when I say contract to close, I mean, I write the offers and I do the listings. I also offer 1 hour personalized training based off of what your needs are within Docusign and Command. Feel free to call with any questions. I work 7 days a week, as I think we all do at this point.
We're in real estate. We all work 7 days a week.
So,
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Again, we will be having Docusign 101 again. We're going to be having Docusign 2.0 workshops. They are going to be every single month. As you're working through this, anywhere you find a glitch, anywhere you have questions, please reach out, ask the questions, okay? Reach out for
Absolutely.
help. The last thing I'm going to say is practice. Get in today and get hands-on.